Hi, Floss Tube. I think I've got my camera back the way I'm used to it. Today is April 2nd. This is my second stitch with me for the Be Well and Stitch SAL, or hashtag BWASSAL on Instagram. I realized yesterday I didn't really talk a whole lot about what I was doing. I have covered some of that in my floss tubes, but while I'm stitching today, I'll go over some of that. I just kind of want to set up first and show you that I managed to finish Shelter and Be Well. This was Barbie's pedal pusher. I had talked yesterday about how she had it charted in Weeks Die Works, and I picked out DMCs because that is what I have. And not thinking about it, I just kind of did it based on what she had chose. And I think I thought I was going to originally do this on a darker piece of fabric, and the color for the house that was picked was too close to this fabric. It just didn't show up. So I decided instead to use DMC 3752. I will post this on Instagram as soon as I am finished shooting this video, and I will put all of my substitutions in there so that you have access to that. And that'll include, I'll include the original color that I had meant, just in case you are stitching it on a different color of fabric, but on like this oatmeal kind of color, it just didn't show up. So I wanted something that showed up, and I think that's a really pretty blue, and I think this turned out fantastic. I love it. I think it's adorable. I have just enough space, I think, that I can stitch a small pillow, which is my plan. I think I'm going to take all of these and stitch them into pillows and put them in a basket of some sort at some point when I have them all finished. Put that over there. I'll show you what I'm planning on working on today. This is self-isolating bat. This is probably the first one that I saw. The designer is Night Spirit Studio. She posted about it in the Stitchers Coven Facebook group, and I was like, I need to stitch that. As we've talked about, my daughter likes to call me the Bat Lady because I like to stitch all the bats. I actually have one of hers on my wish list on Etsy of a bat that at some point I am going to purchase and stitch, probably this summer, definitely before Halloween if I can do that. But yeah, I am going to change out the red to purple, so I've picked these two. I'm hoping, I'm sorry I'm checking the camera, I just don't have a great setup to not do it. So there's my dark purple and my light purple. The light purple is the main purple in the piece. I'm hoping the dark purple being in between the gray and the light purple won't blend in too much to the black. That is my concern, but I really wanted to do this in purples instead of the red that is called for. And then I don't have DMC2, which is the gray that she called for, so I have switched that out to 318, which is a nice light gray. I think that'll work fine. And then this is actually one of the bigger pieces of Ada that I have. This is a 14 count 12 by 12 piece. I probably really don't need this big of a piece, but this will probably be something that I may actually frame this. I know my original thought was to make them all into pillows, but this one is a more substantial piece. It's not that big. It's, let's see, it says I think 45 by 73, but I think I'd rather have it to be able to pull out with all of my other back cross stitches. So, which I only have a couple right now, but I have plans for more. So, yeah, that is what I'm going to be working on today. So, I'm going to start, I'm having problems. I don't have great places to put everything. And I'm dropping stuff as we speak. Okay. Excuse me. So, with that being said, I'm going to put these over here. I went ahead and pre-threaded my needle just because it'll be easier. And let me get this ready. Sorry. Okay, And I am going to use my light just because I think that's going to make this a little bit easier. Gotta find a better place to put the chart. This is an issue I'm having. I don't know how I'm gonna set these up. I need to maybe just take a little bit more time, but I don't always have that. So, that forethought. So let's see. Okay, so I'm gonna try this light purple. I know the light purple is gonna stand out perfectly fine on the black. So the Be Well and Stitch movement, I'm sure you've all heard of the concept behind it, that it was the brainchild of Cecilia Turner and Sue Hillis and Barbara from Keepsakes, as a way to not only give us stitchers something fun to do and something to look forward to at this time when we're all kind of isolated in our own homes, but as a way to help support the local needlework shops. And I've mentioned in a lot of my floss tubes the reason I'm doing what I'm doing, which is I am not buying fabric for these projects because I just don't have the budget to do so right now. I am, however, using, I had like 3 dozen or so, just slightly under 3 dozen or so remnants, offcuts, stuff like that I'm going to. It's going to pretty much deplete my fabric stash. I have some pieces, I didn't mention this in my floss tube, I do have some pieces of fabric that I have that are bigger, that are kind of set aside, kitted up with projects that I'm planning on starting over the next few months. So this isn't my entire fabric stash, but it is all of these little small pieces that I don't actually have plans for anything else with. So, you know, I might as well use these up, and then once all of this passes and we can easily visit our needlework shops again, I will go and I will spend my money with them then, because I will need fabric at that point. So it's kind of a pushing it off until I know they need help now, but I'm assuming we'll still need help come summer. So that is my plan, is that I will be easy. It'll be more in my capability to help them out come this summer to buy stuff, and it's easier for me to buy the stuff if I need the stuff, as opposed to, like I've talked about a lot of times, I have a 4x4 cowlick shelf that all of my cross stitch stuff is on, so I can't just have a multitude of fabrics and extra stuff. It's pretty stuffed to the gills right now, just with project bags and things I already have on the go. So, and then my flosses and stuff. So this will make it easier for me to do some of that. Let me count here. The noise you're hearing in the background, my daughter is playing a video game with her aunt. My sister and her are actually closer in age than I am with my sister, and they're super close. So while my sister is not working and such, they've been playing, just they've kind of got a daytime video game time that they get together and play, and some days it lasts longer than others. I think they get together at like 11 o'clock every day. It is maybe 2 right now, so they've been playing for a while. I know that Liz my daughter took a break to go and have lunch and stuff, but yeah, that's the noise you're hearing in the background. Sorry, I'm trying to count. Okay, there we go. I know what I'm doing. So yeah, that is my plan, is that I am going to support what I can this summer when it's easier for me to support. And if I can't still go to this, I mean, surely, hopefully, by this summer we'll be able to visit stores. That is one of my hang-ups with fabric, is that I want to see them in person as opposed to ordering them online. So unless I'm just ordering like a plain white or like an antique linen kind of look, I just don't I know pictures aren't always correct, and like I said, I kind of have to buy with a project in mind. Doesn't necessarily mean that's the project that it gets used for, but that's how I have to buy, is with that project in mind. So I I'm still looking forward to when Cardinal Needleworks in St. Louis opens back up, and I can go and I can peruse all of the wonderful goodies that she has up there. Um, I have spent a fair amount of time on both that and the Color and Cotton website, just kind of dreaming about what I want to look at, what I might want to look at together. Um, I had mentioned in one of my floss tubes, I'm working on some like small sampler type designs that I think some of the Color and Cotton threads and linens would look really fantastic with those. Or not even necessarily linens, like I think a lot of them I could do on an Ada or something, just to give some various different. As I've mentioned before, I am not a I will stitch on anything if it's in front of me and if it will work for the pattern. I tend not to stitch on Ada if there is a lot of um, like fractionals. I will stitch on Ada if there's not a ton, but if there's more than just a few here and there, I much prefer to stitch on an even weave or a linen, because fractionals are just so much easier on those um, cloths, on those fabrics. So yeah, I'm having some problems here. Sorry, I had to rearrange the way I have my fabric laying. There is one thing. I tend to use small needles, and so as I'm stitching, the needle sometimes falls out of the eight, especially like a 14 count Ada, because the holes are so big. Um, and I'm assuming I've talked about doing some of the Mill Hill kits in that perforated paper, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. My husband was working on one of the Christmas Village series, and that was his biggest complaint, is that the needle kept escaping from him, because he's used to cloth and it'll stay in cloth, because he's done a lot of stitching on smaller counts of Ada and oh my goodness, like some even weaves and stuff. I don't know if he stitched on linen. He has done a little bit of stitching on linen, because I pulled some of his stitching out of linen. I don't think he's finished a project on linen. So, but he has plans. He has plans too. He has a chart that he desperately wants to stitch, but he has not. He wants to do an overdot, and he's in the same boat as me. It's easier to look at stuff in person, and we just haven't had that ability for the last quite a few years. So yeah, I'm trying to make sure I'm still doing this right. I am struggling a little bit with this needle, but that's okay. One thing that you are going to learn about me through these, if you haven't already through my floss tube, is that I don't own just a ton of different clothing, and most of them either have to do with some sort of board gaming related stuff, tabletop gaming. Not necessarily board gaming. I do have some RPG shirts as well. I am a t-shirt and jeans kind of girl. I don't really wear anything super fancy. And like I said, because this is going to be me every day for a month, or close to every day, hopefully. You will probably see the same shirts over and over again. Let me make sure I'm still on the right spot here. Yeah. So I hope y'all are all doing well. I am. I have put in another pickup order for Walmart, so that my husband can pick it up when he is done with work. And this time, other than a couple of substitutions where I order a lot of off-brand, and there were a couple of substitutions where they changed out the off-brand for the name brand, and it was just two. It was crackers and it was pasta. So I was just excited to be able to get crackers and pasta. They've been something I've been trying to buy now for like 3 weeks. So just because it's been so hard to shop and get the actual food I want, um, I'm real excited to have that going on. I'm gonna be able to, like, I know that we're gonna make it through the weekend with what food we're gonna have in the house, and that makes me happy. I'm just having to do little orders here and there. I'm just not being able to do big grocery orders because the stuff that I buy isn't available. I talked about my frustration with that yesterday, and I really expected that I was going to see a lot of canceled items because that has been the case. But no, I'm getting everything on my list or substitutions of other things. So I'm now, I still wasn't able on paper products and stuff like that, like getting trash bags and um, paper towels, napkins, anything like that is still something I can't do. Wait just a second, I'm trying to go too far here. Okay, so make sure I've got this going right here. That was definitely not right. This is a really pretty design. I really like it a lot. And it works for me since most of the time I am self-isolating. So I don't necessarily need people to tell me to stay home. I pretty much stay home. We've talked about this. I think a lot of us are that way if we are able to do so. But yeah, I like the way that she uses the negative space here for the bat with the black material. I really like that a lot. Like I said, this was the first one I saw, and I had to get it. So I'm going to, again, like what I did yesterday, just do the one strand, and then I will post my end of day progress on Instagram, and then I will post once I get a finish. I was not expecting to get a finish on yesterday so quickly, and I will not probably have this one finished by tomorrow because it is a larger piece. But I had done enough by the end of day yesterday. I was like, if I just get up in the morning and I just work on it, then I'm going to be okay and I'll be able to finish it. So, yay, I was. I think I'm still doing this right. I'll have to, once I finish filming, I'll have to look and make sure I didn't make any major mistakes before I keep going. But I do like getting on here and just talking to y'all for a few minutes every day. I say that this is only my second day. We'll see if I continue to like doing that every day. I really wish that I didn't say so much. Try to pay attention to it, but it's definitely my filler word, that and so. My husband likes to point out how much I say so. All in sentences with so, and it kind of bugs him. Anybody else do that? I know I've heard other people do that. It is not just me. My husband is at work today. I know that he told me that it was slow. I don't know if that means that all the patients didn't show up. That's oftentimes the case when he says it's a slow day, is that they were just light on patients. But and then I do believe he is working at the hospital tomorrow. He moved over to a clinic at the beginning of January, and he's been helping out at the hospital here and there because they are down a tech there. Like I said, he works in radiology, and they are down a tech, so he's been working there to kind of help out a little bit. You can hear my daughter laughing in the background again. And the other tech that has been working is actually, I think, planning on taking tomorrow off. So my husband is going in working for him, and then he'll take call until the end of the day, and then I think the main guy is going to be back on call for the evening. So it'll be the first time that he's going to have been on call since early January. So it's going to take a little bit of reminding ourselves that he could get called in and have to go into town and go back to work. But it's only going to be for a few hours, so the chances are not as high as if it was like for a weekend. But it was a really weird mindset to get used to him not being on call, because he's had call for so long, that it was just like, it was weird in our brains to try to deal with the fact that there's not call right now anymore. So it's going to be kind of weird, different mind frame for us tomorrow when he's going to be on call for the first time in 3 months. 4 months? 3 months. I can do math. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Yeah, definitely did not need all of the space I took. Now, see, okay, let me show y'all. Let me turn this off. This is pretty much the width of it. Like, well, half the width. So it's only going to come out to about there. Now, you know what? I'm just going to go with it, because thinking about it, this is just craft store Ada. It's inexpensive. I'd rather make sure that I have the space to do what I want to figure out if I could make a big pillow with it if I wanted to even. So I don't know. But it's not like I'm using extremely expensive fabric or anything like that. So I'll go ahead and keep going. It'll be fine. So yeah. It is really hard to talk and stitch at the same time for me. This is why I'm only doing one strand, because if I did more, we would have 3-hour stitch with me's, and nobody needs that much of me in their life. That's my husband. Ha ha. I don't know if you heard that. My daughter just said that is true. She was not responding to me. She cannot hear me. She was probably saying something to her aunt, but it was perfect timing. That's how that works. 6. Okay, 3 more stitches, and I'm going to call it quits for today. So yeah, I'm super excited that I got a finish already. That gives me some hope that I won't have 30 projects. Obviously, I won't have 30 projects at the end of this month, or additional projects. Obviously, I have 20 some already on the go, plus all of the mania starts. But gives me hope that I won't even have 29. And a lot of these are fairly small. This is an issue I am having, is that for a lot of these, and probably yesterday's would have been a good example of that, is that I usually stitch on my phone. I also record my videos on my phone. So I don't really want to print out every chart that I do. This one is fine because it's going to take me more than just a couple of days to do, probably. So it'd be nice to be able to keep my fabric and the pattern together, so that when I am able to pick it back up again, it's all together and I don't have to try to remember what belongs with what. But for something that is, I mean, some of these charts are like 20 by 30, something like that. The one I did that I showed earlier was like 30 by 50. So I don't really necessarily want to print out a chart for something that I'm going to be able to finish like that. So, I mean, it's a waste of paper, it's a waste of printer ink. So I may have to figure out a way that maybe I'll I might actually start recording these after I've already started. So then I'm, you know, if there's a border or something that I can stitch on while I'm talking to you without having to look at the pattern, um, that would be helpful, because like I said, I don't want just a whole bunch of paper to be wasted for this. But it was something I didn't think about yesterday. I just printed it out because I was like, I'll have to figure out something. And then today's I looked at it and I was like, this one's a big enough one that I would typically print out the pattern for it. So I don't know. Typically, I don't always typically do anything, but yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what makes the most sense for that. So we'll see. We'll see where I'm at tomorrow. Like I said, I might go ahead and just might not be. I may not start it on camera. I may just do some stitching on camera um, to visit with y'all for a few minutes, but I might start it somewhere else. Like I didn't think to say this. I did say it yesterday. I will link this in the description below so that you can find the PDF for it. This was a PDF. This is the progress that I made. So this is the outside oval, and like I said, I'll post on my Instagram. All of that will be down below. Also my Instagram, the Be Well and Stitch movement hashtag, as well as my Be Well and Stitch SAL, or BWASSAL, will also be in the description. The thread conversions that I make, I will go back to yesterday's video and I will edit the thread conversion there to add that I changed the color for the house. I will put down the threads that I'm using for this one so that if y'all like the look of it, you know what I used. And I guess with that, I will hopefully see you tomorrow. Have a good day. Bye.